Welcome to this brief video introducing key concepts to the GB gas and electricity markets. Here we'll take a look at producing gas and electricity and start with about electricity. Electricity is generated via numerous different types of power stations, and they broadly fall into two types of category: low carbon and fossil fuel. Power stations that do not emit carbon dioxide at the point of generation are typically called low carbon generation. This includes renewable technologies and nuclear power too. Fossil fuel generation is the creation of electricity through burning gas, oil or coal in a power station. This produces electricity but does produce a lot of carbon dioxide as a byproduct. Power stations can vary significantly in terms of the amount of electricity they can generate, and all technologies have their pros and cons, particularly as the economy seeks to reduce carbon emissions and reduce them to net zero by 2050. We'll now take a look at the gas side of the market. Gas occurs naturally and can be found underground or under the seabed. It can be stored to be used at times when demand and typically prices are high. This usually occurs in winter. GB's gas comes from a variety of sources. Much of it comes from the North Sea, and a lot of it is imported from other countries via pipes or boats. Liquefied natural gas, or LNG, is shipped around the world as a liquid via tankers. We can also produce gas from natural processes to create what's called biogas. This gas is considered greener as it does not emit into the atmosphere additional carbon dioxide. The natural processes to create biogas is the degradation of natural matter to create biomethane and biogas. This is considered a greener source of gas and may feature more prominently in our future gas need in the future. We'll now take a look at transporting energy. This is moving energy across our networks from where it is produced to the point at which it is used. Starting with gas networks, these gas transportation systems, or pipelines, are split into two types of network: transmission and distribution. The high-pressure pipes that move large amounts of gas from where it is imported and across the country is known as the transmission system. The distribution networks are lower-pressure pipes that take gas from the transmission network and transport it into our houses and our businesses. On the electricity side of things, our networks consist of different voltage lines and transformers to change the voltage across the system to make it a usable voltage for people to use. The very high voltage wires that move large amounts of electricity from large-scale power stations and then across the country is known as the transmission system. The distribution networks are lower voltage wires that take electricity from the transmission network and distribute it into our houses and businesses. We'll now take a look at how gas and electricity is used in Great Britain. There are about 24 million households in Great Britain that use gas, and about 850,000 businesses. The main uses are for heating, mainly space heating and water heating. In large industry, gas is often used for high-grade heat, and power stations are also an important customer for gas to burn the gas and create electricity. There are about 27 million households connected to the electricity network and about 2.5 million businesses. Main uses of electricity are for lighting and powering appliances, and some heating in areas that have not got access to gas. There is potential for other areas of our economy to become electrified, such as transport and heating. We'll now take a look at the market, the government, and policies and rules. The market structure and the competition that different actors face depends on what role they play in the market. Energy suppliers, also known as retailers, will compete with each other to sell gas and/or electricity to end consumers, be they households or businesses. Companies that produce energy, be that power stations or gas importers and producers, will compete to sell their energy to suppliers on the wholesale market. Government has a key role to determine the strategic aims and policies for the energy sector, for example, reducing carbon emissions. It introduces legislation and regulations to underpin policy programs to deliver desired outcomes. Ofgem, our independent regulator, ensures that companies operating in the gas and electricity sectors comply with rules. If necessary, Ofgem can take enforcement action to address non-compliance and levy fines on parties it finds not complying with the rules. Ofgem also monitors the market to ensure They are working effectively and in the interest of consumers. We'll now introduce the policy trilemma. The trilemma is often used as a term to describe energy policy that has been in place since the late 1990s. And where possible, energy policy tries to deliver three, often competing aims. This is to ensure secure, sustainable, and affordable energy supplies for all. The mechanism of competition is used where possible to deliver these outcomes. In practice, this means that we want our energy sector to meet the three competing objectives which are not easy to balance. There are very many different policies in place now, and more likely to come soon, that seek to meet this trilemma objective. Examples of how the trilemma has developed over time include the Energy White Paper, Climate Change Act, and Net Zero Obligation from 2019. We'll take a look at these in a little more detail now. The Energy White Paper of 2003 is an example of early policy development that tried to introduce various targets to deliver low carbon outcomes for the economy and particularly the energy sector. At that time in 2003, the government proposed a 60% reduction in carbon dioxide emissions from 1990 levels to be achieved by 2050. In 2008, the Climate Change Act was introduced. This was a watershed moment as it introduced a legally binding target for the country to reduce its CO2 emissions by 80% from 1990 levels by 2050. More recently, in 2019, the Climate Change Act was amended to introduce a net zero emissions target for 2050. Many policy schemes and interventions are likely in the energy sector to enable this target to be met. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you in an upcoming course where we provide much more information on all of these aspects. Please do get in touch if you have any questions.